Hey everybody, Josh here from Mayhan Made. Today, I'm going to continue with the spice jars. This time I've got oregano, which is not light, not dark. It's kind of in the middle. So I'm going to try something new, something I haven't seen anybody do yet. Kind of along the lines of what I showed with this. I've got some media blasting with Cermark on top. I'm going to try Tempura Paint, and I'm going to make a pretty much a panel of tempura, etch that, and then I'm going to come back, clean that, and then put Cermark on top and etch the Cermark on top so that it has a white background with a black text. So this is going to be new to me. I haven't seen anybody else do it. I think it'll be good. I think it's going to turn out like I think. So I've taken Tempura Paint, which is just my Tempura Paint $5 jug. It's 32 ounces I got from Hobby Lobby. Your craft stores locally should have them. If not, you can get it on Amazon relatively cheap. I can link that in the description below on Amazon. It's not where I got this, but it's where you can get it if you cannot get it locally. So I put some of this into a cup, a little dish here, and I mixed it half and half with water. So it's nice and thin. So it's nice and liquidy. I just stirred it with a craft brush. I'm going to take rubbing alcohol with a paper towel, and I'm going to clean my cup where I'm going to put it on there. Clean your cup good. Always clean it real good. You've got oils on your fingers. You got oils on towels. Everything can contaminate the paint, cause a bad finish. You clean it with alcohol, and then do not touch it after that. So another method I'm going to use this time, instead of brushing it on, I'm going to just pour it on there and just let it flow over the cup, so that the tempera paint is nice and even and it just drips off. It doesn't have to be super thick for it to etch. So I'm just going to dump it on there and let it flow into another container so that it's contained and not make a huge mess. So I just grabbed a scrap dish. Going to use this. I'm going to pour the tempera paint over it. Brushing it, sometimes you get brush strokes and things like that in the paint, and it doesn't come out great. So I'm just going to pour this on. So that you get it in the right spot, so that you don't waste all your paint, not get it where you need it. The good thing about this is I can keep pouring it until I'm satisfied with where it is, get good coverage. So that's about where I'm going to put the engrave. I've got the whole area covered pretty even. I'll dump it over there one more time. And then I'm going to set this to the side on some cardboard so that it can dry. Tempera paint, since it's water-based, it takes quite a while to dry. So allow yourself some time in your project to allow it to dry and set. And once it's dry, you can etch on it. And then after that, it's water soluble, so you can just wash it off with water. Okay, so here we are back after the tempera paint has dried. You can see that the thickness of the tempera paint, it's not super thick. There's a couple of daubs of paint in there I'm not worried about. I can avoid that with the patch. I can go inside this area here. You can see that, you can see my fingers through. It's not super thick. This is all it takes when you're etching glass with tempera paint. And I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. I'll show you how I set it up on the rotary. Setting this cup up, I've got, with glass cups, I like using rubber bands. I put the rubber bands on the edges of the cup. That's not going to interfere with my engrave. It's going to be on the highest place of the cup so that it gets good grip on the rollers of the rotary. I'm going to use the standard rotary this time. I'm not going to use the RA2. No sense in overcomplicating things. I'm going to lay this in here. I've got a little brake piston. I've got a socket. I'm going to sit inside to wait. So that'll keep it planted on that rotary. Push it to the top. All the way to the top. Okay, for this I'm using LaserBox Basic. I like LaserBox Basic. It does everything I need it to do. I do all of my editing and creating in InkSpace most of the time. It's a free program you can get online. I'll link that in the description. It's a free download. It does a lot of stuff. It doesn't do every single thing that Photoshop does. But if you like Adobe Photoshop and you don't want to pay for it, you can go to, it's a website called Photopea. It's basically Photoshop online. You can get in there, you can remove backgrounds, you can change crop, whatever you want to do to the image before you put it into your program. So it'll render out any file type that you like. So a couple of good resources there that don't cost anything is InkSpace and Photopea online. In LaserBox here, I'm going to insert. I'm going to do an oval. And I'm going to do something like that. And I want to fill it. And getting a measurement off of my space that I have on the cup, I want it 60 millimeters wide. And that's going to put us at 23 millimeters high with that I just created. I locked the ratio, aspect ratio, and then I've set the width. So basically within my Tempura Paint, that's as big as I want it to be. I'm going to put my laser on, and referring to my book that I've got my notes in, everything that you do with the laser, any project that you do, trials, everything that works great for you, make sure you write it down. I've been doing with this laser for a little over a year and a half, and there's so many things that just I've done and it works, and I forget to write it down, and then I have to retry it again. So I've gotten to where I write everything down. I've got a book with notes that specific per job sometimes, or a certain way something came out, or an item. Write down the power, the speed, the lines, how it came out. That way you can refer back to it, and it's quick and easy. Setup is quick. So tempera on glass, I've got 100% power at 50 millimeters per second speed. So let's select the laser, and I'm going to go 100 power and 50 speed. And when you create in LaserBox, it does not let you select the line count, but the default line count is 100 lines per centimeter, which is what I wanted anyways. So it's running at 100 lines, 100% power, 50 speed. If you want to be able to adjust the lines, you have to put it into another program, create it, export it as a PNG. Once you put it in as a PNG, you get all of your adjustment if you create another file. But if you're not worried about it, you can create within LaserBox. It'll work just fine. My cup is to the side, so I'm going to do a 90-degree turn. And then I'm going to go ahead and send it. On this one, I'm going to put right in the center. Go ahead and click cylinder working. Okay, so the setup I showed you before. I've got this line on my table. My laser is anchored to my table. I've got locators in the corners, that corner and this front corner. Keeps it square with this grid. So on the 60 to 70 millimeter line, I want to line up on that. So I know that it's nice and square. As long as you're using the 60 to 70 millimeter step here with the rollers, line up on this line. I'm going to go ahead and focus the laser, drop the kickstand, and then lower it down to the cup. I just let it rest on there and then I lock it and pull it up. Now, I showed this before. The way I set up mine is I found center on the cup, on any cup within this. It's going to be the same center no matter how big it is. And I put a piece of tape marking where it lines up so that I don't have to search for center every time. I don't have to try and eyeball it. I've got a piece of tape. I just line that up, look along the front here, lines up with the back edge of that tape. Now I know that it's in the center, and then I can pick my height. So I set the engrave up to where I'm in the middle of a 60 millimeter engrave. So that's going to do pretty good right there. Okay, wearing your eye protection. So I'm going to go ahead and frame this, see where it's at, make sure it's okay. Make sure it's within where I have it. Yeah, that's going to be good. Nothing moved. Everything framed good. Make sure the cup is all the way to the top still. And we'll go ahead and press start. All right, all finished up. I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way. Let's see what it looks like coming off. This looks like it has a film on there. So I'm going to take this and wash it off with water and a sponge. All right, here we are in the sink. Just some water. Wipe all this off. Sponge. I just use an old dish sponge, one that was no good anymore. It's going to get thrown out. I just reuse. See there, it's got a pretty good patch panel there for to engrave on. You see those little dots? They came out. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but those are the blotchiness and the thickness of the paint where it was on there a little bit thicker. It doesn't really hurt anything. I guess just noticing it now, I hit this crease line in the glass, but that's okay. It's just a spice jar. This is for proof of concept, see how it works. Okay, so now we have our cup. I'm going to go ahead and clean it with alcohol again. Right in that area. It's nice and clean because we want our Cermark to stick to that. So just cleaning the area, and I'm going to focus my Cermark right there because that's where I'm going to etch. So first, before I spray it, I'm going to mark center on this so that when it comes to centering my design inside of that, I want to make sure that it is centered and or as close as possible. Okay, so you can see I measured from edge to edge, I marked center, and I made a line upward. So with that line upward, I'm going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to cover that so that it doesn't get painted. So after I put the Cermark and it dries, I'm going to peel this off so that I can see the line, because I may not be able to see where this is through the Cermark. So I'm going to place this top down so that I don't get overspray inside, and shake your Cermark real good. Okay, so just as I suspected, you see this is still kind of drying. It's almost dry. You cannot even see from this side where the engrave was. From the inside, you can see that in the video. See where it is inside. So I'm gonna have to use the inside to try and. I should have marked the up down also, so that I could find the center of it. See, I got the tape mark so that I've got my center line, center the design, but I didn't mark an up down. So future reference, you need to mark the top and the side if you're doing this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this ruler and I'm going to measure from this top edge at that line down to the center of my circle on the inside where I can see it. So I can see through this side of the glass. I'm going to use that and measure up to that line, about 18 millimeters from this line to the center of my circle. Okay, so back over to the laser again. I'm going to go ahead and put my rubber bands back on. See, the Cermark is still drying, but I still have to put the words, the text into the laser box. So I'm not worried about it. I've got time. I'm going to go ahead and put my weight back inside, place the cup in place. I'm already focused for this size cup. So I'll go back to my center mark on the tape, and then I'm going to bring it down, make sure that my center of my cup is lined up on that black line that I created. So that's lined up there. And then, so I'm going to get my ruler, and it was 18 millimeters. So I'm keeping this up against the shroud and not touching the cup. So I'm looking through, and I'm going to gauge it down to 18. About right there. So that should be center of that oval. From the measurements that I took, it's on the line that I marked for center, left to right. Okay, we're back in laser box. Take that out. Let's insert text. And go here. And this was oregano. Put oregano on there. And our oval was 60 millimeters wide and 23 high. So I'm just going to set the height of this. I'll lock the aspect ratio. I'll set this for 15. That gets too wide. Okay. We'll go down to 55. I'm going to go to set my font. Ink free, what I'm using on these. Got 15 and 55 wide. I'm going to go 50 wide just to be safe. So that should fit inside of our space. For Cermark, referring to my book, I'm just going to use my glass settings, which is 70 millimeters per second and 70% power. So I'm going to go 70 at 70. I'm going to rotate 90 degrees. And we're ready to go on that. I'm going to hit start. And remember, I marked this in the center. So I'm going to go right to the center of my space. Cylinder working on. Okay, this will take about a minute and a half. I'm going to speed it up for you. Okay, here we are. Just got done with the Cermark. Taking my weight out. You can see the engraved. It says oregano. I really hope that it fit inside of our space. From the looks of it, it looks close. Let's wash it off in the sink. Okay, after washing it, you can see the result is really good. The Cermark on top of the Tempura engraved. My centering, like I mentioned before, I should have marked more. 2 marks instead of 1. My up-down centering is not good. I based it off of a measurement, and sometimes doing that is not perfect. So I should have marked it. I should have marked in the middle so that I can center it better. But as long as you make all your marks, everything's going to line up good. For proof of concept, this is pretty good. I mean, that it shows up nicely. Not going to have any issues reading that. So we're going from a tape to laser engraved. I'm going to go ahead and dump this in, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, here we go. Finished product. You can read it pretty well. Not to worry about the light or dark of the spice. It's got plenty of contrast with the light background. The centering could have been better, but I'll do it better next time. I'll make more marks. I'll make a side mark and a top mark. That way I get it nice and center. The other way that you could do this is leave the laser in place, which I should have done for the center. When you burn the oval, when you take the jar out, don't move the laser. So if the laser stays where the center of this oval was, all you have to do is set your reference dot to the center of your text. So just burn the tempura, slide it out without touching the laser, and then do your work. You don't have to worry about marking, nothing. All you have to do is clean it, put the Cermark on, put it back into put your rubber bands on, put it back in without touching the laser, and it will stay right in the center of that design. As long as your cup goes right back where it was, you won't have an issue like this where it's not centered. So I'm going to test that out in another time. But that is my recommendation on how to fix this problem. Other than that, it turned out really good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.